Well, Mr. Jiti Ogunye, a legal practitioner, since joined us in the studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Ogunye. It's been a long time on the show.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here. Thanks.
Let's start off where Mr. Gulak left off. About the Taraba election tribunal. A lot of talks about the judgment. A lot of people are talking about, the PDP especially, saying that what was obtained in some other judgments in the election tribunal is what this court is trashing and nullifying, saying that it does not hold water. From your own perspective, what do you make of that judgment?
You know, the judgment was delivered yesterday, and I've not read the judgment. I was in court before the tribunal when the judgment was being delivered, but I've tracked reports of the judgments, and essentially what the tribunal did was to nullify the election of the governor, a PDP governor, basically on the ground that he wasn't qualified as at the time of the election to contest the election. I've heard people say many things, including what the PDP has said, making such wild allegations, not only against the tribunal, but suggesting that the tribunal was being manipulated by the government in power. And I'm happy for one thing, that this evening, Mr. Gulak's tongue was well restrained. You know, lawyers speak with circumspection, a lot of hesitation and reflection. And you could see that this evening, he tried to distance himself a little bit from what his party has said, hankering it on non-availability of facts to reach the conclusion that his party has reached. Although he quickly added that he believed that his party will not be frivolous in their statements. Now, under the Electoral Act, and specifically under Section 138 of the Electoral Act, there are 4 basic grounds of nullifying an election. The first is that the person whose election is being questioned was, at the time of the election, not qualified to contest the election. I repeat, the person whose election is being questioned was, at the time of the election, not qualified to contest the election. The second is that the election is invalidated by reason of corrupt practices in the election and non-compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Act. The third is that the respondent, meaning the person who's won that election, was not duly elected by lawful votes, by a majority of lawful votes cast at the election. And the fourth is that the petitioner or its candidate was validly nominated but unlawfully excluded in the election. These are the 4 grounds. And if you looked at the tribunal judgment, it's very clear that the tribunal anchored its judgment on the first ground, which is that as at the time of the election, that governor was not qualified to contest the election. Why? Because Section 87, subsection 4, paragraph B, 1 and 2, provides that for nomination to be valid, there should be primaries, either direct primary or indirect primaries. And for direct primaries, you know, the provisions are clear. For governorship nomination, the aspirants will have to contest in all the local governments in a particular state, and the winner of the primaries will be declared as the one who is the candidate of that party. And in this instance, those primaries didn't take place in Taraba State. You could talk about security and all that. You know, you can't imagine security. Perhaps the tribunal didn't have facts to suggest that the security situation in Taraba State at that time was so dire as to warrant a postponement, or as to warrant the shift in the venue of the election, of the primary, to Abuja. Basically what many people, including those who are in the political reportorial bit, know is that things were just stage managed in Abuja. And perhaps the party felt that, after all, it's our party. We are the one to complain. Others cannot complain on our behalf. So why should you cry more than the bereaved? Maybe they thought that would gel, but now,
a lot of people are even talking about the Section 139 and 140 of the Electoral Act and on this issue and some other judgment. Well, I guess we'll leave it at that for a moment because we still have some other issues that I would like you to wade in on. We got on a short break. And when we return our attention to the leadership tussle over committees at the House of Assembly, well, that of the Senate. We already know what are things turning into in the National Assembly. That takes our attention when we return from this break. Join us again.